Hello, everybody. I have not been feeling my best this week to do anything exciting, so I thought I'd use this opportunity just to explain what's been going on. Like, why am I on antidepressants? Why do I keep saying I feel sick, etc., etc.? These are all things that I have, well, some of it have explained months ago, but I took all those videos down because I wanted to restart the channel anyway. But there was also a lot of details that I wasn't explaining due to it being hard things to talk about or things that I didn't think were relevant at the time. So, yeah, I'm just going to explain from then to now how I got diagnosed with somatic symptom disorder, which is something I'm still learning about. And a lot of it I understand, and I think it sounds a lot like me, but there's some other things that I don't understand or why I'm still dealing with certain things. But as I have explained, I do have depression, I do have anxiety and OCD, and I have done for a very, very long time. But as far as this disorder, this is a new one. Um, but I'm going to explain the whole story, but I'm going to do it in parts. I just want to get like the beginning out the way today, and then I'll continue tomorrow, and then maybe Wednesday, depending how many parts there are. But yeah, here's a story of how I was diagnosed with somatic symptom disorder. Before I start, I just want to quickly let you guys know that if you keep seeing me look down, it is because I have notes with me. As much as I'm going to remember very well how I was feeling during certain events, I'm not always going to remember the day or the month because a lot has happened since last year and a lot of it feels like a blur. So that is why I have that with me. And for many, many years, I've made it a habit for me to write down medical stuff in case I need it for future reference. So that's why I have it. So I'm going to start off at the very beginning and one of the hardest things to talk about. So last year, 2023, pretty much near the very beginning of last year, my dad and I noticed something very weird on my cat's stomach. My cat's name was Layla, and I loved her very, very much. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like cats or deem them as pets or lovable pets. And there's also many people out there that don't deem animals as loving creatures, period, which I don't understand your mentality, but that is okay. But my cat meant everything to me. She was good company, and I knew her a little bit longer than I knew my own mum. My mum passed away when I was 16, and we had Layla for 17, 18 maybe-ish years, but it was definitely longer than I had my mum in my life. But Layla just meant everything. But anyway, yeah, my dad and I took her to the vet, and we learned over time that she had lymphoma. So my dad and I did everything we could to slow down the lymphoma, but it progressed pretty quickly. It was spreading very, very quickly to her face, under her chin, along her stomach, on her back, and on her paw. Her front paws. Yeah, it didn't look very good. It was making it hard for her to get around. So on the 19th of May, Dad and I took her to the vet, and the vet strongly advised us that we should take it out of her misery. And I knew that it was right, but it was just one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. And I don't talk about this day at all. I've only explained it once to a psychologist, and I didn't even explain the whole thing about how I felt or what I saw. I mean, it's obvious what happens. It's just I haven't experienced it for myself before, and I hope to never ever experience it ever again. But I was there. I always wanted to be there with her when it happened. And I did spend a little bit of time with her after it happened. The vet let me stay in the room with her, like, you know. Yeah, so that was just hard. And it's an image that ever since I've been struggling to get out of my head. So I do think maybe I need to speak to someone about it. It's just hard. Just keep pushing it down. But what made it worse, I mean, that was already bad on its own, but it was becoming really, really stressful that while she was sick and after she went, I couldn't believe that certain family members or friends that I have that I had always been there for never even reached out to see how I was doing. In fact, there's a couple in particular that made a joke out of it. I'm not going to repeat what it was. One of them was even a family member that said something extremely disgusting. Instead of reaching out, he decided to make a bad joke. He doesn't know I know it. But it was a discussion between two family members, and I found out what was being said. I'll come back. So moving forward just a little bit to June, there was one night that I didn't feel very well. I felt like my stomach was very bloated. I had absolutely no appetite, and I kept making many, many trips to the bathroom. This went on for 2 days straight, and then I was going to go have a shower, and I'm so glad that I didn't go in there because I looked in the mirror and I could see my face was quite pale, and I felt like my ears were going deaf and I was getting that tunnel vision. So I quickly went into my dad's room and I said, I feel faint. What do I do? Because there's many times I've felt faint, but I've never actually, passed out. And I panicked. I've always panicked about fainting, just that, losing control type of thing. So I was in a panic state. And he did say something to me, which I don't remember what it was because I had already dropped. My dad said that I kind of fell back into the wardrobe door. So now I know why afterwards my back was killing me. But and I just fallen onto the floor. And I woke up with my dad near me asking me if I was okay. But yeah, there was that. But long story short, when I did wake up, I started vomiting all over my dad's carpet, and more. I just wasn't well. And then later on, my dad took me to the hospital, where they believed I just had a stomach bug and lost a lot of fluid, so I had to get a drip in me to get fluids and potassium. Potassium really hurts to get in, but I obviously needed it, so I'm grateful I got that. So it took maybe a week or two for me to feel okay, but I kept feeling unwell every now and again. But eventually I started to feel okay. So that was June. Then July, this is the other hard thing to talk about. My dad, my brother, and I went to the movies one night to see Oppenheimer. And when the movie had finished and we went outside, my dad noticed that he had many missed calls on his mobile from my nan, which is his mum. And we were instantly worried because she never calls the mobile unless there's an issue. Just to explain, my grandfather, so my dad's dad, my nan's husband, he hasn't lived with my nan for quite a long time now. He unfortunately had to go to like a carer's home because he has advanced dementia. So anyway, my dad was talking to my nan on the phone and I was just watching him and he looked stressed out. And when he hung up the phone, he basically told me that, well, I don't think I can say the words on YouTube, but I don't know if you get flagged for it, but basically his dementia made him believe something and it made him very, very sad to the point that he attempted to not be here anymore. And if a nurse hadn't have found him, that would have been the case. He's well now, which is really, really good. He doesn't recall any of that happening, which is also good. But that was stressful and scary as well. So that was July. So there's a lot of stress that was just going on within the family, a loss and then another loss. And amongst that, I was also dealing with a different type of grief. There was someone in my life who was my bestest friend in the whole world, and he just disappeared. I don't know where he's gone or why. I've tried to reach out to him many, many times, but he has not responded back, and I don't understand. And it's been a very long time, and I haven't heard back. So that was adding to stress as well, just where my bestest friend went to. And yeah, just everything else, like I said before, just people who I thought would at least send one message like, how are you? That never happened with some people. And it was just adding to the stress and tearing me apart, thinking like, I can message you guys if you have a headache, but you won't message me while dealing with grief. Just stuff like that. That's, I know everyone's different, but sometimes it baffles me. Like you give and give and give, not for any other reason than you just care. But when you don't get it back, you're like, well, what do I mean to you then? I don't know. Anyway, moving forward to August, I was actually doing quite good. A nurse that I speak to often, um, I told her even then about what had been going on, and told her how I hadn't been feeling well, and she strongly advised that I change my diet and I exercise more to help myself to feel better, and I did do that. Not only to help myself to feel better, but in 2022, I had an MRI and I found out that I have arthritis on the right side of my neck. So there's been a lot of pain as well, and I wanted to manage it and control it. So I wanted to go on a diet and eat better and everything. And I was doing really, really well during August. And then September came and everything just changed again. So I'm definitely going to have to look at my notes for September because a lot happened. But yeah, like I said, August I was doing really, really well. I was eating healthier, I was exercising and managing my arthritis much better. And I was just overall starting to feel really, really good within myself. But in September, one particular night, I must have overdone it with an exercise because my back and neck was hurting. So I grabbed my shiatsu massage pillow and I laid on the lounge room floor with the pillow behind me. So that meant like a lot of pressure was put on the pillow, which meant the pillow was putting pressure on me. That it caused a reaction. It made the back of my right arm completely numb, and that scared me. So some hours went by and the feeling just wouldn't leave, and the more it wouldn't leave, the more I would panic, and then eventually tingles were going down my right leg, which made me panic more. So the next night I managed to get an appointment with the doctor and I explained what happened. He did some test on me to check my nerves and my reflexes, and he said that it was all perfect. It was all fine, nothing to worry about, and that the feelings will go away soon. But I don't know why, but I nearly started crying because I was still not satisfied. I felt like something was wrong. I was still in a state of panic, but he just kept like reassuring me that you're fine, everything's okay, and it will go eventually. But the next night, I was feeling worse. I started to get a really, really bad headache, and I started to feel very, very sick and lost appetite and just didn't feel good. I was still in a state of panic that I called some doctors to come to the house because I couldn't get an appointment anywhere else. So I called doctors to come to the house. They came to the house. They did similar tests to check my nerves and my reflexes and more. And they too said that it's perfect, everything's fine, there is absolutely nothing to be concerned about, it is just something that happened that will be better soon. And when I asked about, well, why do I feel sick? Is that related? And they said they didn't know what that was about, but they just kept saying that everything was fine. The next night, my dad did tell me that I just seemed lost. I seemed like I wasn't myself. I was having trouble concentrating on anything. And he just said it was like I was just a completely different person. I wouldn't stop asking questions like, are you sure I'm fine? Do you think everything's okay? Like asking all these medical questions, even though I just saw doctors. It's just, I couldn't stop obsessing. And some hours went by again. I had such a huge headache. I felt really sick. I even thought I was going to pass out at one point. I just said to my dad, can we please go to the hospital? So we went to the hospital. Same thing. The doctor did even more tests on me because, at a hospital. blood test, checking my nerves, checking my reflexes, blood pressure, everything. And he said I was fine. Everything was fine. And I said to him, I think I'm getting like a bit of health anxiety or something. Like all of a sudden becoming like a bit of a hypochondriac or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, he reassured me that I was fine as well. But when I got home, that's right, the next day, I saw my physio and I told him what happened, and he also explained how what I was feeling could happen and that it will go. Like, he promised me that it would go, and I did start to feel a little bit better. Then I saw my doctor the next day. Oh god. My doctor the next day explained what happened, and I remember she looked at me and she said that she would like me to see like a psychiatrist or something. She didn't say it at the time, but she was basically trying to tell me that it seems like you're having like some really, really bad health anxiety, because I was never satisfied with what professionals were telling me. I was still obsessing and worrying and making myself sick over something that I didn't need to feel sick about. Um, Eventually, the numbness and the tingling did leave, but I became completely dissociated, which I have experienced many, many times in the past, but not to this extent. I normally had dissociation or derealization, whichever, for about 10 minutes or to an hour in the past, but this time it was lasting weeks. It would not stop. It honestly got to the point that I was grabbing ice to hang on to see if it would like snap me out of it. I would turn the shower on cold and like go under there to see if it could shock me to get me out of this. And as silly as it sounds, I even like slapped myself quite a bit. I know, not because I like doing that to myself, but I just thought maybe a shock will make me come out of this state. I just couldn't get out of this state of feeling not real, like nothing was real. I couldn't connect with anything or anyone. I didn't understand what was going on, and I continued feeling sick for a while. And every single time my dad and I would go out, even if it's just to the grocery store, I felt sick, I felt faint, and he said that I was looking pale a lot. And I was trying everything to get myself to feel better, and I thought, is this a new like social anxiety thing going on? Because it mostly happened when I went outside. But I did my absolute best. No matter how I felt, I went outside because I didn't want something like that to take control over me. I didn't want that. So no matter what, I just went outside. And for literally 2-3 weeks, maybe, just wasn't eating properly, was worried a lot, didn't feel like I was real, in a dreamlike state. Heart palpitations started to happen and chest tightness, and feel like I couldn't breathe. And I don't know. I did wonder, did me fainting, did that cause something because I lost control? It was a new experience. Is that what bothered me? Is because I had some health scares? I don't know. Was it a mixture of things that happened at the beginning of the year, with a loss and everything like that, and what I saw and whatever? Was that like a delayed reaction to all of that? Was my mind and body just kind of acting weird and panicked and becoming illogical? And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But anyway, that was September, and eventually I got over that. I got over everything, and I started to kind of do better again. It was only just every now and again here and there where I started to feel like in a dreamlike state and I'd feel sick. But I felt like it was eventually just stopping. So, yeah, some time was going by, and eventually it was just not becoming a thing anymore. Um, the dizziness, the dissociation, everything was just leaving, and I wasn't really thinking about it. I was able to go out with any issue or feeling sick or whatever. So eventually it became forgotten, which is good. But then in early November, I woke up one morning and I felt very, very sick. And my first thought was, well, I'd been eating well for a very, very long time, but just some nights ago I was drinking and had a lot of junk food because I was celebrating Halloween with a friend. So I thought maybe the drastic change in diet made me feel a bit queasy. But then the next day I woke up sick, then the next day, then the next day, then all of November went. And then December came, I was still sick. It was every single day. I did speak to my doctor and a nurse at the time, and they said it just could be anxiety. And just try to keep eating healthy, keep working out, keep doing things to take your mind off things, and hopefully start to feel better. Um, but in that was all of November. Then December, yeah, it was still going. But in December, there started to be more things going on. Where I would start to feel very, very hot a lot of the time, especially in the face. I just, out of nowhere, it could be like a cool-ish day, and I'd feel like I was near a fire, like I was so, so hot. And again, I started thinking, is this like, again, another delayed reaction to things that happened earlier in the year? Because I cried a lot to grieve, but maybe I didn't grieve properly. I mean, I didn't. My dad has often spoken to me about how when my mum passed away, I didn't cry in front of anybody. I didn't cry at the funeral either. Not because I wasn't sad. I mean, I was heartbroken. It's just for some reason I'm not always good at letting things come out. And I'm not very good all the time at expressing things to people for some reason. I don't know why. So I just thought maybe it's a delayed reaction to things that went on, and maybe I'm just feeling a bit sick. But it just wouldn't stop, and I didn't understand feeling hot or like on the face. I'd literally would open the freezer and put my face in the freezer to try to help. And during this time, also in December, without getting too much into it, but there was some female issues going on too, where I wasn't getting my friend each like monthlies. TMI, but I'm just being honest. And again, I thought, well, I know stress can mess that up as well. So I'm gonna leave that there. That is part one of stuff that had been going on. That's basically everything for 2023 that I've now explained. So I will do part two tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening to me with this one. And yeah, thank you very much. And I will post again tomorrow. Bye.